You know how the cheapest countertop cooler you can find on a garage sale site looks like a great deal until you bring it home, plug it in, and the drinks end up lukewarm, the door fogs up, and the lock never quite clicks? I've been there, and that kind of buyer's remorse is why I spent a few days actually walking through a few different setups before deciding whether the Summit Appliance SCR600BGLBIHVADA is a smarter investment. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The first thing that makes people hesitate with a beverage center is the fear of committing to a unit that looks sleek on the spec sheet but ends up being a headache in the day-to-day. With a built-in cooler, you're literally carving a piece of your kitchen or back-of-house into a permanent slot, so you want to be sure the dimensions, the way it cools, and the security features line up with how you actually use it. The Summit model is 24 inches wide, 32 inches tall, and offers 5.5 cubic feet of storage, which sounds generous, but the real test is whether that space stays evenly cold when you're loading it with a mix of soda cases, large water jugs, and a few glass bottles for a small office lounge. I started by visualizing 3 typical environments: a 30-person corporate break room that needs to keep a steady supply of cold drinks for a morning rush, a small-scale CAF that wants a built-in cooler that complies with ADA guidelines, and a homeowner who likes the look of a commercial-grade cooler in a finished kitchen island. In each scenario, the same questions popped up: how fast does the unit recover after the door opens? Does the glass door stay clear so you can see inventory at a glance? And will the lock actually keep curious kids or employees from tampering? From the data the manufacturer provides, the fan-forced cooling system is a clear advantage for the first 2 settings. Unlike passive chillers that rely on a single coil, the fan circulates air, which means the temperature stays more uniform from shelf to shelf. In a break room where you might open the door every few minutes, that translates to fewer cold spots in the middle of the unit. I imagined a scenario where a delivery driver drops off a case of 24-pack sodas, the door stays open for a minute while they unload, and the fan keeps the surrounding air moving so the freshly stocked cans don't lose their chill before anyone reaches for them. The double-pane tempered glass door is another practical win. It reduces the amount of heat that leaks in, which not only helps the compressor run less often, saving a few pennies on electricity, but also keeps the surface on the outside from fogging up during a busy lunch hour. In a CAF setting, a clear view of the inventory helps the staff manage stock without having to open the door repeatedly, something that's often overlooked when people compare look-good units that actually have a single pane and get steamy after a few hours of use. Security is a feature that surprises many buyers, but the factory-installed lock on this model is not just an afterthought. In a food service environment where you might be storing premium bottled water or a small inventory of craft sodas, the lock gives you peace of mind that the cooler isn't going to be an easy target for break-ins or even just an employee who decides to take a few extra cans home. I've seen a few cheaper models that rely on a simple latch, and they either break over time or simply don't deter anyone. The Summit's lock feels robust enough to stay engaged even after the door is slammed shut, which is a subtle but important quality when you have a high-traffic area. Now, let's talk about the trade-offs. The unit's height of 32 inches is designed to fit under lower ADA-compliant counters, which is fantastic if you're retrofitting a space that already meets those standards. However, that also means you'll need a clear space of at least that height, and you can't just slip it under a standard kitchen counter that's higher. For a homeowner with a typical 36-inch countertop, you'll need to plan a dedicated under-counter niche or go freestanding, which can eat up floor space you might have hoped to keep open. The adjustable glass shelves are a nice touch, but they only slide within a limited range. If you have a mix of tall juice bottles and short soda cans, you'll need to be strategic about how you arrange them. In the real world, I've seen people end up stacking the tall bottles on the bottom shelf and then having to leave the top shelf mostly empty because the glass shelf can't be lowered enough. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a nuance that a buyer should be aware of before loading the cooler to capacity. Another practical point is the auto defrost feature. It eliminates the need for a manual scrape-off of ice, which sounds great, but the defrost cycle does cause a brief temperature rise. In a busy restaurant where you're